Hello everybody and welcome to this demonstration of the CCF Exploration User Interface, or EUI. The EUI is a web deployed tool, so you can go to the tool yourself simply by typing this URL into your browser. The EUI was designed to visually explore, hence the name, the spatial and semantic context of registered tissue blocks within HubMap, or for outside HubMap as well in certain cases. So the EUI consists of three panes. We have a partonomy and ontology pane on the left, we have a 3D pane in the middle, and we have a details pane on the right. We also have some UI tools that help you adjust your workspace. So for example, here we have a full screen button. If you press that, you go into the full screen mode for the details section here. We have this little button here to switch into dark mode. If you, like me, prefer to work with a dark mode, this is the way to go. I will, however, in this demo use the light mode because that is the default that most people are probably going to use. So what the EUI does is it shows you the reference organs within the male and female bodies and the tissue blocks that have been registered for these organs so far. So let's start with the 3D pane in the middle. I have an orbit camera that I can use to go through the 3D scene. If you click and drag your left mouse button, you can rotate the camera. If you click and drag your right mouse button, you can pan the camera, like move it sideways. And by using the mouse scroll wheel, you can zoom. So let's go ahead, go over to the male body here and just zoom in a little bit. And then as we go closer, we can see existing tissue blocks. Those are actual tissue blocks that have been registered by users into our common coordinate framework. We can see that there's quite a few here across these organs that we see. Here in this carousel on the top, you can see all the 11 organs that we currently support. You can also see those little numbers below each organ that show you how many tissue blocks we currently have. And furthermore, we can also see that some of them are active and some of them are inactive. So for example, the brain is currently not visible, neither is the large intestine. However, the large intestine has 4 registrations, so let's click on it, and then the colon appears in both reference bodies. So let's go again to the male here. Here we go. And now here we can really nicely see those pieces of colon that have been registered for the male colon here. I'm going to turn this off again. I'm going to zoom out to give us a nice view of the 2 reference bodies with the organs inside. So now let's look at the partonomy and ontology pane here on the left. Here I can search for ontology terms. So for example, let's say I am specifically interested in the ascending colon. Can type this in and then I can see that there's an autocomplete function here. So I go to ascending colon and then the partonomy here opens automatically to the ascending colon. We can see that we have 1 tissue block for the ascending colon, which we saw just a second ago. All right, so let's collapse this again. This shows you just how many tissue blocks are available for each of these organs and then for each of these anatomical structures accordingly. Another thing that we have here are filters. So I can click this filter symbol up here, and then I can select a whole bunch of parameters or adjust a whole bunch of parameters to narrow down my search. So for example, let's say I am only interested in registrations for the female body. Let's say age 18 to the age of, let's say, 50. And then I can click this apply filters button. And then we can see that we only see the female body because that's what we defined as the sex. And then we can also see that the details pane here on the right got smaller because those are the ones that we have for from female bodies age 18 to 50. So now I can zoom in a little bit. Let's focus here on the organs. And then here we see the actual registrations. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click this checkbox here for the first registration and this one for the second. And then we see here that these have been highlighted with orange and blue colors respectively. We can see one of these registrations, the orange one is for the spleen and the blue one is for the kidney. And then if we click on these buttons here, then we see a lot more information about the actual registration that we have here. And then if we click on these thumbnails, we can see the actual assay that was performed. So we can see here 10x. So let's click on this. And then the actual data set opens. Okay, we can also see the identifier of the data set and a whole bunch more information. And then we can click this open a portal button, and then a new tab opens, and we can look at the data inside the HubMap portal. And I can click this X here to leave this detail view again. Let's zoom out again. Let's collapse these. And then I can also select more, and we can see how all of these colors are being applied programmatically, just so we have a nicer way of distinguishing the tissue blocks from each other. Another thing I would like to demonstrate is, again, the enhanced details pane. So as I expand this area here, we see some metadata information. So we see that it was registered on June 9th, 2020. We see the the operator. We see the TMC where it came from, the dimensions, etc., etc. And then here we have this blue line, which stands for the z-axis. And this is the axis along which individual tissue slices have been cut. And then you can see here these little vertical lines here that symbolize the tissue sections that have been taken. And then, of course, if a tissue block has more than one assay or modality performed on it, you can see more thumbnails. Just like you can here, for example. This is a whole bunch of modalities that exist for this particular tissue block, which is here in the right kidney towards the upper part. Of course, if I click on this, I can highlight this specifically, and I can do that for the other ones as well. All right, this was an introduction to the Exploration user interface. We looked at the parthonomy and ontology, we looked at the 3D scene, and we looked at the details pane. And I hope that you find it straightforward and easy to use this Exploration user interface. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us anytime. Thank you so much.